It's day 2 of training camp, and there is a lot to cover. So Caitlin Clark was interviewed today along with Steph White and Kelsey Mitchell. Yesterday, there was DeWanna Bonner and a couple other people that were interviewed. I unfortunately had prior commitments, so I couldn't really be covering this stuff like in real time. And today I've been writing, but I want to go over what happened today. So Caitlin Clark was interviewed today in the middle of training camp, as was Steph White, as was Kelsey Mitchell. So let's just dive right on in. So there were a lot of questions that were asked to Caitlin Clark by the media. One of the ones that stuck out to me was how she felt the team was gelling and how she felt about the addition of DeWanna Bonner. She basically said that when she talks, people listen, and she kind of wants to like win it all for her. Here it is.
DB's been tremendous, and obviously, not only as a leader, she's a tremendous basketball player too. She's won championships. She knows what it is. So when she speaks, everybody listens. So I think that was a piece of the thing we were missing last year. It's like we didn't really have that inside of our locker room. So just really grateful for that, and just the way she talks and she leads. Like for me as a second-year point guard, like I want to win for her. Like this is the end of her career. Like she deserves it.
And if there's one thing that I can say that was so positive about watching all the footage from yesterday, it's like the way that DeWanna Bonner interacts with the entire team. You can really tell that she has had she provides like a leadership role, and people do listen to her. And that type of experience and that type of mentality is definitely something that the Indiana Fever were missing last season. They were a very young squad. I mean, Kelsey Mitchell had been with them for quite a number of years, but she's still not in she never really had a lot of, elite veterans around her, to take mentorship in. And this is very exciting for Kelsey Mitchell too. Now, she is 37 years old, but she has been somebody who has been able to maintain her dominance on the court. I mean, she showed it last season playing with the Connecticut Sun. The Connecticut Sun got to the second round of the playoffs, and she was a very key integral part of that team. Now, saying that, she did go through a little bit of a slump last season. She went through a shooting slump, but that is not uncommon for any sort of dominant player. I mean, Caitlin Clark went through a bit of a shooting slump. She wasn't shooting many threes, but her legs were tired out from going from the NCAA straight into the professional league. And it's just been turning out that DeWanna Bonner has become quite a vocal leader of the team, as Caitlin Clark mentions right here, when she talks, they listen. And she does kind of goof off a little bit, classic Caitlin Clark fashion. Nothing is totally serious when she talks to the media about being in front of them again.
I love talking to you guys all the time, but there was a point where the line had to be drawn. So I'm glad to see you all back here, but it was nice to get away from everything and just kind of be able to live my life as a normal person, enjoy things that I love to do, cook, bake, be outside, go watch other sporting events, see my family, just be Caitlin and enjoy things that I really enjoy. And don't get me wrong, I love basketball and, having the spotlight and playing with my teammates, that's one of the most fun things in the world. But at some point, we had a great year, and eventually getting away from that was really healthy for me. But it came to a point where I was itching to get back in here after a month. So I'm happy to be back at the same time.
And I really don't envy anyone that has to go from college straight to the pros to play at such an elite level against women that have been there for much longer and have had much longer of a time to get used to the professional level and the physique and the physicality. I mean, it was kind of on display when Caitlin Clark ran into that screen that Breanna Stewart had set that she wasn't paying attention to. I think Caitlin called it her welcome to the league moment at one point. And, Paige Beckers is going to be facing the same thing. Caitlin went from a championship game straight into the pros. Paige Beckers went from a championship game, which they won, straight into the pros. So it will be very interesting to see the acclamation. So I actually can't wait to see how Paige Beckers does. I personally don't fall into the category of hating Paige Beckers at all. I think she's a great player. I can't wait to see her face off against Caitlin Clark. I can't wait for all of it, to be honest. Now let's talk about the Steph White interview for a second. Watch it down. This is basically Steph saying how this is the most talented roster that she has personally been a part of.
You said this weekend that this is the most talented roster you've seen in the W history. What do you see? What makes it that way?
It's the most talented roster I've been a part of.
You've been a part of?
I've been a part of.
Excuse me.
Yeah. I'm going to say in W history, there have been some pretty talented ones. As far as the teams that I've coached in the W, it's the deepest, most talented roster that I've really been a part of. I mean, we've had teams where we've had 2 or 3 that can really play, and then you surround them with a lot of great role players. But I think as far as, you look at the depth of this roster and the opportunity to play with a lot of different lineups and play a lot of different ways. And so, again, for us as coaches, it's how quickly can we build rotation, how quickly can we find out strengths and weaknesses of who can play well together, and the different types of ways that we can play on both ends.
Okay, so for Stephanie White to say that this is the most talented roster that she's been a part of is saying something, because she was a part of the coaching staff when the 2012 Indiana Fever won the championship. Now, Pokey Chapman was the head coach, but Stephanie White was on that coaching staff as the assistant coach. So this is kind of a big deal. And, finding the rotations, finding what works, I think she's really excited, really pumped to see this roster get on the court, play against other teams. And I think the sentiment is echoed by many fans. And this is how Kelsey Mitchell feels about all the newness around her.
Everything is just absolutely new. It feels really good. It feels fresh. It's kind of like when you take your clothes out the dryer, kind of like fresh. It feels different. And it feels good because we have new leadership, we got new players, we got vet leadership. And so I think all that combined just makes for a good atmosphere right now. It feels good.
How does that help you guys elevate even more for the players who are returning?
It makes it easier. I remember this time last year, it didn't feel good. So we had to get that in order first for people to start playing well. It's like the domino effect. But I think once your culture is kind of established, how you guys see it now, I think it makes everything else way easier. I don't know if that makes sense, but way easier.
And Kelsey Mitchell kind of had a rough go of it at the start of last season. She was coming off injury. She was dealing with the passing of her father, which he was her best friend. So that was really, really hard for her. She talked about it a lot in a lot of interviews. But it's just really good to see Kelsey especially being in such high spirits, because she's coming from a place that was really hard to recover from. And, her saying that everybody wants to be there is always kind of a great paradoxical statement to what a lot of people have been saying, if you know who I'm talking about. But a lot of people have been saying about people actually wanting to be on the Indiana Fever. But the thing is like, why wouldn't you want to be on the Fever? This is like a team with, a lot of America behind it, a lot of people in the world behind it. And because we're seeing something right now that really hasn't been seen very much in sports in general. There's a few times, and this is one of them. So I think that being a part of that and being so close and in such close proximity to making such big change in sports and women's sports and raising up women's basketball in general is just really exciting to be a part of, and I don't see why it wouldn't. And just to end on a couple of high notes, let's go over one of those logo bombs that I know many of you have been missing for 8 whole months.